Hassel here, co-host of the Nerdy Man Room Show. And we proudly present to you Man Room Shorts. Your discretion is advised.
Well, since you brought up that kill and how that happened, that kind of takes us into our second topic for the evening is some of the horror movie tropes and plots. What do you find is a good one? And I say that this takes us into it because as you talk about, it's like, okay, do you go more for the psychological thriller horror? Do you go for the few jump scares and mostly imagination, or is it better to have the gore? Like just watching the movies that made us this past week. You watch how they made. I watched how they made the original Halloween and how little it was on the budget and how the guy playing Michael was just a guy who's standing around who was friends was like, I just want to see how you shoot the movie. And they're
They
like,
were in a band together.
stand
Nick
stand
Castle and him
over,
were literally in a band
yeah,
together.
stand over here and put the mask on and you can be the guy. Just stand there and look creepy like you're already doing. But then you watch then you watch the Nightmare on Elm Street one, and it's like they were doing everything they could just for the shock value and being as creepy and as gory as they could. And they're like, this is not going to
And
get
for the time, they
passed.
done really well because that Johnny Depp death was, that's going to always be, I don't care. You got to figure it's been, what, 30 some odd years, 35 years or so since that movie came out. And it still holds the test of time. Certain aspects of the movie, no, they don't. But yeah, that kill, it holds the test of time, and 30 years from now, that'll still be a great kill scene.
It was, but what do you find as the more what do you need out? Because you're a bigger horror movie buff than I am, but what do you find that you need more out of the movie to enjoy it? Do you need the psychological, or do you need more of the just show me what's
I
going
like a
on?
good story. I mean, like with this Myers here, there's not as much story as action, so it feels like a John Wick horror. But I've had at this point, even if you take out the other, you know, of the mythology that's got erased, you still have 78 and 2018 Halloween to give you backstory. So if you have a John Wick burn where it's just boom, 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 it's fine because you feel like it's a chapter of the continuing saga. Other than that, I like a good. I don't want to say a slow burn because I don't want it to be too damn slow. I don't want all the action in the last 10 minutes of the movie. And honestly, if you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, I think Freddy's only actually in the movie 12 minutes. The original Elm Street, he's in there 12 minutes, but they've done a great job of capitalizing on his screen time to where it mattered during those 12 minutes.
Sure.
So something to that effect. But you know what? I can enjoy a really good, Friday the 13th where it's just, hey, you fuckers drown me, so I'm going to slash the shit out of you every time you have sex or smoke dope. Um, but I found myself in the last week or so, and that's one of the great things about, I want to say it's Peacock Network that I was watching it on as well. They have the OG Universal Monsters on there. And literally the other night I watched Wolfman versus Frankenstein. And you're talking early 40s. But you know what? The stories hold. I mean, and they're still like really good. I mean, I can enjoy those.
And that's why I like the plot of the supernatural stuff, and that's the ones I like is kind of like, and not necessarily even those. And I like some of those, especially you talk about Bela Lugosi or Christopher
Well, yeah,
Reeve when he was
they
in
actually have
those.
Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Wolfman meets Frankenstein. And then they start delving off into your like Hammer horror that start getting a little, but you know.
See, I like those Universal monster movies, and then also others like Bram Stoker's Dracula, like that supernatural element where I don't need to show you how bloodily gory I can be, except for occasional. I'm gonna show you how bad I am, but you don't have to see it but once to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that element of what's going to go on, and my mind's got to think of it. My mind gets to racing a little bit more than what the movie is, and I'm like,
Yeah. I'm a massive fan of Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman. I mean, that's one of my favorite. Yes, Sir Anthony Hopkins. That man, he has a fucking amazing performance in it.
and you don't have
And
to.
even a young Keanu Reeves, where he's trying to do a British accent and it's terrible. It's still
But
very
you don't.
enjoyable.
But for that to be good, you don't have to go into the body horror and body manipulation. Like I think and I bring that up. Like I like the American Werewolf in London and those sort of films too. But the transformations and stuff, they just went a little too far to me. Like, okay, let's do a whole body horror scene here, and I'm like, I don't really need to see all that.
I don't know, man. That's an iconic scene right there, where David turns into the wolf for the first time, and you get the transformation. Some of the transformation was a little when you start doing legs and all this shit, but dude, when that face,
yeah, but that's all I would have needed to see. Just show me that face and do that. And it would have been, okay, this dude is going to rip somebody's head off with his teeth here in a minute.
And shout out to
that's all I need to
cousin's
see.
buddy, Freddie Loper. He lives down in Florida. He actually has one of those test heads that they used that Rick Baker used when he created that scene that's got the animatronics and all that. He has one of those. My cousins have been down there a few times, and he's actually sent video of it. It's extremely neat. And I mean, they have one at Universal Studios, which I'm sure both Hollywood and Orlando has one, but because you had several of them. But so I've seen one in close effect, but it's pretty damn neat.
See, I get into those a lot, and then stuff like there's a movie that David Desmalkin, the guy who played Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad, he's got a movie coming out, and I'll listen to an interview from him about it. It's the Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is the ship that Dracula
that's
traveled over on. Yeah, and and he said it's very much like it makes you feel like the plot of Aliens, right? So the aliens,
well, he stopped that ship down. If you actually read the book, I mean, that was no fast journey back in the day. I mean, that was something that took months.
And to the actor's point, this is kind of like, how you watch Aliens, and Aliens is kind of that blend between sci-fi and horror, but there's this stuff that goes on. And it's like, okay, what's going to happen next, and who's it going to happen to, and what's happening, because none of us really know. He says very much the same kind of feel of that, and that's a huge chapter in Dracula that they didn't show in Bram Stoker's Dracula, but this is kind of like a
glossed over
companion to that.
You see the crew getting pretty well murdered within 30 seconds, and they get out like, oh, this nigga just showed up over here in just a few seconds. No, he didn't.
And they're gonna go through they're gonna go through that as like that's the whole movie. It's just that voyage. It ends when the boat docks.
And if you actually read Bram Stoker's book, it goes into some depth in that. And the poor captain, he's the last one to go.
Yeah.
It's bad. But I will say, in the original Bram Stoker's Dracula, you don't have the love story between Mina and Dracula. I mean, he's after the entire time. However, it's not because he's seen some vision of a past love in her and whatnot. And that's probably the one flaw I have with that movie, is the fact that they try to make you sympathize with Dracula a little bit. And when you sympathize with the Frankenstein monster, I get it. That there, I mean, you can even sympathize a little bit with the Wolfman. He didn't ask for the curse, it just happened. So I mean, but Dracula, he is the undead, the soulless one. He is evil.
But it goes back into that thing we were talking about earlier, though, that most of the good horror movies like that make you have to question: am I the monster, or am I the victim, or am I the monster?
Yeah.
Which one? What's that humanity level? But that's what I find really good about the movies like that. And again, I don't watch a lot of them because I don't like the jump scares. There's some that I do, like Dracula and stuff, because there's not a lot of that in there. But reading the plots and reading the books of them is always catches my eye. But
have you watched the remake of Wolfman?
I haven't seen it.
That is one of the better remakes to me, and it doesn't get the credit it deserves, and that's because it changed directors like halfway through the movie, because studio direction and whatnot. But Sir Anthony Hopkins, man, he is spot on in this. Benicio del Toro, the guy that plays Agent Smith and Red Skull, he's in it. I think Emily Bloom's in it. It's a great cast. The story is really good. The effects are good. Rick Baker returns. He is the premier Wolfman. If you're gonna make a wolf movie,
he's premier anything he does.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
He's top notch. But if you're gonna make a wolf movie, he is the guy you want. And man, his Wolfman makeup is spectacular. It's great. I can't brag on this movie enough. It is one of those ones that is, if I got 2 hours to kill on a Sunday night and I want to drink a few drinks and just chill and get a good scare, I'll throw that in, and it's like, no matter how many times I've seen it, it holds me. I usually discover something new every time.
So is that your go-to horror movie, or is that one of your top ones? And
It's one of my top ones. It's
so,
probably
so
not the go-to.
what would you say is your top 3 to 5 go-to horror movies?
Ooh. In the last few years, probably my top 5 would be Wolfman remake. I hit either Friday the 13th 3 or 5 on the regular. Those two kind of, it's going to be one of those two. M Street 1 or 3, same thing. The 2018 Halloween, like I said, I've watched it God knows how many times. And the other ones, it's an unknown movie. Well, I say unknown. It's relatively unknown amongst a lot of people, but it's called The Terrifier, with Art the Clown. Some of the most gruesome kill scenes. It lacks on story. I mean, it does, but I mean, it's like just shot kills. He literally has a woman upside down and cuts her in half from the vagina down with a hacksaw in front of her friend. Yeah, it's brutal, dude. He takes another guy and he uses a propane tank. And for those of you who have worked in industry and whatnot, a propane tank is pretty damn heavy. It's about 68 pounds. Full.
Yeah.
He takes a propane tank and just smashes this poor bastard's skull to pieces.
Oof.
It's got, and if you like it, if you view it and like it, part 2 has been filmed and it just hasn't hit distribution yet, but it's coming. That's one of my go-tos. It's really good.
It's called The Terrifier. I've
The
never heard of
Terrifier.
that one. I'll have to read that one.
I want to say it's B movie, but at the end of the day, it's not like what Josh would consider a B movie and enjoy. It's actually got good acting in it. The effects are great, and the kill scenes, man, it's brutal. It's probably the one thing I've seen as brutal as the new Halloween. Yeah, just as far as forcible kill, and there's a nice little twist at the end. I won't spoil this one just in case our listeners do want to go and watch it, based on what I'm telling you, because of the fact that I didn't say like an asshole at the beginning of the show, hey, we're reviewing this. So there's a nice little twist at the end. And it's like, oh shit. So it's really cool. I mean, it's got a lot. Well, it just has a whole lot of old shit moments. Let's put it that way. You won't be disappointed if you're a horror fan.
So let me ask you one more question before we move into our next segment. But what would you say is the scariest movie of all time? What would be your pick for the scariest movie since you like the horror so much?
It's a two-way tie for me, just because of the traumatization it put upon me. M Street 1, because I was the only poor bastard that was like 4 years old in the theater with my mom because she couldn't get nobody to go with her. And that's probably why I'm so damn fucked up today. But yeah, M Street 1 like really, really fucked me up. I had bad dreams for like years, and probably because of nothing more than fun, hassle, fact. The night we went to see this, and in the theater, I'm not trying to. I'm tough, bad little motherfucker. I'm sitting there just like, okay, I'm holding strong. We go home. Mom said, "Oh, it's time to bed." Oh shit, really? You want me to go to bed? So you're 4 years old. You just watched a movie about a guy that's going to kill you in your sleep. I go to bed, and we lived uptown, and I had this little window in the corner with no curtain over it because the window wasn't this big. You know what? We lived uptown, so like lights were going by all the time. So I'm staring out this window the whole time, just like shitting bricks. Well, I have a dream about Freddy Krueger, of course.
Oh,
Literally, because we grew up on Scooby Doo. I dreamed I was in the damn bucket that's in the beginning of Scooby Doo hide, looking out the damn little hole. Freddy's chasing me down the dock, and I stick my head up like a dumbass, and he's back in. So I wake up. He's in the living room. Mom's asleep on the couch. She's watching Saturday Night Live. I'm like, all right. So I just I don't have a nurturing mom. That is not who this woman is. So I just kind of like nuzzle up there at the edge on the floor, mind you, by the arm of the couch, kind of like I'm almost touching her for safety. One of the commercials for Saturday Night Live was Nightmare on Elm Street. I screamed like a bitch. Like a bitch. Then I got my ass tore up for being up. Great story. So yeah, that movie right there got me for a couple of years, and then the original Exorcist. It didn't
I've never
bother
watched
me.
any of those.
It didn't bother me at all in my younger years. It didn't bother me until I became a parent. Like literally, I was probably about 23 before it. Like, and then I went back and watched it one day, and I was like, "Oh shit!" You know what I'm saying? Once you start getting a little more, I guess I was a little more spiritually aware, and the fact that I was a parent as well, it kind of got me.
Yeah, I again, those are stories, those supernatural stories that I kind of like, but I also kind of dread those that are because, especially the ghost and the possession ones, because you think about some stuff like Michael, Freddy, and it's like, okay, it's so campy. Does it really have a tinge to a reality to it? To what degree does that happen? But
Yeah.
when you get into those, I'm like, I'm not necessarily an overly cautious or overly scared person most of the time, but at the same time, I don't know how much of that's real, so I'm not going to tempt fate by
Well, I
fucking
mean, if
around
you're
with
a
stuff I
fairly
don't
spiritual
understand.
person, you read about it in the Bible all the time, so then you get to thinking about, oh, man, I don't want to tempt fate
Yeah,
with this one right here. And
I don't
honestly,
need
I don't know how they got that in the theaters in the 70s.
no.
Some of the scenes in that movie, I'm like, you wouldn't get
Oh,
this in the theaters at all today.
you say that, but the scariest movie of all time to me came out in like 1971. So,
What's
and
that?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Look, Christopher Reeve made you believe a man could fly. Gene Wilder made you believe there was a man who might like kids a little too much.
Him and Michael Jackson had that in common.
That movie, I know I'm kind of somewhat kidding, but I'm also somewhat serious. That movie freaked me out so bad because of his portrayal of Willy Wonka. I was like, there's something just really wrong with this dude, and I don't want to be around him as a kid. They used to
Those
make
were creepy, no shit.
they used to make us watch that in school every year, if you remember. And I was like, I got to go, man. I can't watch this because
And now looking back, all I can
their
think
go-to to
of
put on when they had a substitute teacher. And I'm
is
like,
how the
nope,
Social Security
I gotta
Department
go.
should be going and getting Grandpa Joe and kicking the shit out of him and making him pay all that money back. Because this bastard done laid in a bed for 20 years, milking the government. Then you get one gold ticket, he springs out of bed like no tomorrow. He owed the damn government some money. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know what it was, though, but honestly, that movie was just so creepy to me. And it's like, in a, you know, for lack of a better term, a pedophilic way. I was like, this is just
To
weird,
be
man.
honest,
I can't.
I didn't expect that answer, G. I did not.
That one creeped me out, man. I don't know what it was. It just was always it's like, oh no, I can't watch this. It just every time it comes on, like the skin on the back of my neck crawls. I'm like, nope, can't watch
I
this.
can honestly say I remember very little of the movie. I remember kind of more of the opening than anything else. Like once he gets to the factory, it's kind of a.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not disrespecting Gene Wilder. I think he was a great actor and everything he was in. It's just that his portrayal of that just creeped me out so bad. I'm like, I cannot watch this dude.
He was a great comedic actor. I didn't care for roles like that where he's trying to musical it up and all
Yeah.
that crap. But yeah.
But again, that's my strange affliction with horror movies is, Willy Wonka.